So you've got a sick kiddo at home and you're trying to prevent their illness getting worse, or maybe preventing them having to take antibiotics or drugs, or maybe even they're already on antibiotics. You can still use this same immunity stacking protocol. That's what's so good about it. I've used this with my family, and my 6-year-old daughter has only ever had antibiotics once. It was very recently. It was for 4 days for a very nasty strep throat, and it's probably only because we started this a little late because she was getting better. We probably stopped it a day early, and then she got sick again. So let me run through what I do. And I'm not saying to do this in lieu of working with your pediatrician or anything like that. Anytime we do any health protocol thing, you always get some people say it's dangerous, they need their pediatrician, all of that garbage. Look, I think everyone should have a good pediatrician they trust, but you don't want one who's just throwing drugs at you all the time when you have all these other things you can do that more often than not will help your kiddo. So we start with echinacea. You really want to add that in at the first sign of illness. So most of these things are as soon as there's symptoms. Try and find a glycerin-based echinacea tincture if you can, just because your kids are going to stomach it better. A lot of the echinacea has a very strong alcohol taste from it. You can get it from most natural grocery stores and health food stores. I like to do 1 serving 3 times a day of this. If you've got a really young infant, some of these things can go in. So for older kids, I put them in orange juice or something like that. If they're really young, like still breastfeeding, you normally won't need to do a lot of this stuff. Breast milk's going to do enough. So this is more the age group from 3 to however old. Then we have colloidal silver. You don't want to take this every day as just a maintenance. I just don't recommend it, but as soon as there's symptoms, 1 teaspoon a day, again, 3 times a day. I like the brand Argentine 23. Then we've got raw organic honey, preferably Manuka honey, but as long as it's raw, locally grown, organic, it's going to be really good for you, especially for a throat issue. I recommend 1 teaspoon 3 or 4 times a day or more. Remember, this is a sugar that's broken down differently to all the nasty refined sugars, so don't worry about that. Then we also want to get some elderberry. You can do gummies or you can do syrup. If you're doing syrup, 1 teaspoon 3 to 4 times a day. Again, you can get these online, natural grocers, other health food shops. Then we have vitamin D. This is one that I do recommend usually using for preventative as well, like all the time. You need to make sure your vitamin D also has vitamin K in it. Vitamin D pulls calcium from the gut into the bloodstream. K then takes the calcium from your blood to your bones. Now that's not why you're taking vitamin D when you're sick. Vitamin D also is a steroid hormone that drives the majority of our immune system, but you always want to take it with K for that reason. Now, depending on the age of your kids, it could be 2,000 units a day, it could be 5,000. So my daughter is 6, she's quite tall. I give her 5,000 units a day when she's feeling sick. I give her 2,000 to 2,500 units a day other days, and in the middle of winter, if it's snowy and she hasn't been outside, I'll go 5,000. Now, if she gets really sick, I'll do 5,000 units 3 or even 4 times a day. It's when you're splitting it out like that, you are not going to hit toxicity, in my opinion. Of course, this isn't medical advice, so you need to do what you feel comfortable with. But when you look at the research to get to toxicity, they have to have so much level of vitamin D, and usually it's without the K. That's the problem. But as long as you spread those servings out, you should be in good shape. Then we want to take prebiotics and probiotics, especially if they're on antibiotics already. So if it's more just because they're starting to get sick, I like the HMO powder by Layer Origin. That's a fantastic prebiotic. And then for probiotics, I like the brand Claire Labs, and you want to take something with a strain of, hopefully it's got lactobacillus and the bifidobacteria in it as well. I recommend prebiotics as a constant maintenance all the time. Probiotics you should only take either when sick, when you've had antibiotics, or if you're older and you've done a stool test and you know you're lacking something and you use them to be targeted. If you're taking antibiotics, have the pre and probiotics about 3 hours away from the antibiotic and keep taking them for 3 to 6 months after the antibiotics are done to keep refilling all that microbiome, especially the prebiotics. Hey there, I just wanted to let you know, as a thank you for watching my video, I wanted to send you my free guide on the 13 foods to boost your mood. So you can click in on the link in the description if you want to download that. There's so many people watching this video who are probably suffering with gut health issues, and sometimes even just changing the foods we eat can make all the difference in the world. So that's my free gift to you. Please grab it, take advantage of it. Anyway, back to the video. Then we have vitamin C. I always recommend starting with a vitamin C flush at the first sign of illness. As a kid, you take 500 milligrams. As an adult, you take 1,000 milligrams or a gram, and you take it every hour until you get to loose stools or borderline diarrhea. then you stop and you add up how much you took. So if you're an adult and you're doing 1,000 milligrams and you did that 8 hours before loose stools came in, now your loading dose is 8,000 milligrams. Then you do one more dose at night before you go to bed. And then the next day, morning and night, and every day now until you feel better, you take 30% of that loading dose. So, okay, let's use more round numbers to not work my math. Let's say as an adult, you got to 10,000 milligrams before the loose stools kicked in. You would do 3,000 milligrams or 3 grams morning and night. Again, the difference with kids is just do 500 milligrams. And there's different types of vitamin C. You want to do this with the ascorbic acid. It just seems to be the one that flushes the immune system better in these cases. There's some really cool homeopathics to use. Now, again, you'll hear arguments all the time. Someone will jump on here and say homeopathy's all quackery stuff. I haven't read enough of the research to say it definitively works, definitively doesn't, but I have found that when I add these things on with my family, we get a better result. They're safe, they're harmless, and they don't cost you much money, so why not? There's a brand out of Europe called Under. There's an Under 37, which is designed for flu and virus. You do 5 drops 3 times a day. And then there's a brand called Guna. They have a Cytomix and a Guna virus. They're little pellets that you put under your tongue. The Guna virus, you do 3 pellets 3 times a day. And I'll put all of this in the description for you, so don't worry if you're trying to make notes. You can just copy and paste it, move it to a Word document, and then you'll have it. And then the Cytomix, you do 1 pellet under your tongue 3 times a day, and you just let it dissolve. You can easily do that with a 4, 5, 6-year-old. They're tiny, they can't choke on them. They're like almost like they're really, really, really small. Then a company called Body Health makes some iodine drops. I like to do 3 or 4 drops of iodine in whatever concoction you're making up 3 times a day. That's just going to help give that immune system a boost. I also buy a zinc throat spray from Quicksilver Scientific. If there's any throat raspiness or inflammation or anything at all, I use that. The kiddos can do that easily. It's very safe. You just do 2 or 3 sprays, and you can do that 3 times a day. And all the brands that I recommend, you can go join Fullscript and just jump on my online dispensary, and you'll see all of it listed in my immunity stacking protocol, so you don't have to wonder where to go and do all your own research. I've already done that for you, so you just join that to get it. Then the last 2 things you can do. I would not do this one for a younger kid, but I do a iodine nasal and mouthwash. When your child's a bit older, they can do this. I get the 10% povidone iodine. You take half a teaspoon, you mix it with 45 mils of clean filtered water and a pinch of salt, stir it around, and you gargle it. You can also do a nasal spray. The reason I don't want to do that with younger kids is because I don't want them swallowing it. So this is more a teenager deal. And then you can also do a nebulizing of hydrogen peroxide, but you have to dilute it properly. It has to be 3% food grade hydrogen peroxide. You need a mask and a jet nebulizer. The handheld air ones aren't strong enough. It has to be diluted down, so I do 1/4 teaspoon of the 3% food grade hydrogen peroxide. I mix that with 40 milliliters of saline. I keep that in the fridge in a dropper bottle, and when I want to nebulize, I do just 3 big drops. So dropper fulls, and then I do 2 drops of Lugol's iodine solution into the nebulizer mix as well. You don't keep that in the mix in the fridge. And again, this is what works for me and my family from what I've researched. If you're interested in the nebulizer stuff, look up Dr. Thomas Levi. He's the expert in my opinion at it. But then you can nebulize multiple times a day. I mean, that's what my daughter does, and she kicks stuff really quickly when it's up here, and it never really gets into her lungs. So that's my immunity stacking protocol that I use for my family. I've used that with my daughter since she was about 3 years old, and even probably a little bit younger. And again, the proof is in the pudding. I don't think it's just luck that she's had antibiotics once in her life for 4 days only, and I believe we could have stopped that if we didn't stop this protocol too soon in hindsight, because I thought she was better and she hadn't quite got there. But of course, once things take off, that's where you have a good pediatrician that you trust, so you can go and get checked, get antibiotics if needed. We just don't want to throw those at viral and ear infections like 98% of them are, and all you're doing is wiping out their gut microbiome. Now, if you want to know what to do as an adult when you're on antibiotics, just watch my video that's in this playlist group that's on gut health and antibiotics. That's built more around what adults can and should do. This immunity stacking protocol works for kids and adults, but it's not so much about how to heal the gut if you do have to be on antibiotics. That's what that next video is for. So thank you so much for your attention. I hope this has been valuable for you. If you've got questions, or you disagree, or there's things I've missed that you like to use, just comment below, throw them in there. I always love the interaction with people who agree and who disagree. I know you can also use dehumidifiers, and we put some essential oils in those as well. I have to stop the list somewhere, so that's where I stop it. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.